Guys, I know you can hear me. I'm trying to get the people outside. Bring them. I'll hurt your ears. I can get loud. I can get pretty loud. Yo! I come from Philly. This is...
Oh, I'm on. I can't see you over there, so sit there. Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, it's not that complicated.
Okay, I think it's time that we got this rolling. Okay, if anyone can hear me outside, get your ass in here. Okay, I'd like to introduce Tessa, but actually before I do that, a quick announcement. We will be having the members' meeting at the end of the afternoon, and during this, if you're an IVRPA member, you must come, please, do come. But during this, we will be auctioning off a Panocatcher Maestro Mark II dual-axis robotic head, which is a very cool piece of kit. I've got the version 1, this is the version 2, I like it. So if you're at all interested in that, it's great for pano moments, it's dual axis for doing full sort of scripted multi-row shooting. Come along, have a go. Okay, so now over to Tessa to show us Tessascapes illustrating in 360.
Okay, thank you. Hi. I'm going to talk about my experiments with illustrated panoramas. I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, and animator. And while I was at art school, and my then boyfriend, now husband over there, introduced me to panoramas. I'm really excited because finally my ideas have, actually the technique has finally caught up with my ideas. I'm going to start my talk with an experimental demo that we actually finished this afternoon, somewhat. And then I'm going to show you my very first panorama project I did at my art school. And lastly, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks about illustrating panoramas. Oh, and I have too many slides, but I will attempt to reserve some time for questions. So first off, my demo of War of the Worlds. It's an experiment in narrative and storytelling in panoramas, something I'm really excited about. My demo is sort of a mix between traditional linear narrative you're used to from books and movies, like you have a story that goes from A to B to C, and mixed in is some interaction which is sort of non-linear but not really. And I find VR storytelling really compelling because it's totally different from traditional storytelling, because the viewer can look that way when you're trying to tell the story over there. So you have to think about your visual cues and your audio cues to guide the viewer through your story. Well, Nathalie Mate showed this morning that it's really interesting to think about this new medium and how you can capture the attention of the viewer. I've done some experimenting with storyboarding for panorama storytelling. I don't have enough time to incorporate it into my talks, but if you're interested, talk to me later. Okay. So this is my demo.
No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space.
Sorry, it's a bit awkward.
No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely they drew their plans against us.
Sorry, it's my first time at Keynote. Oh. Thank you. Okay, so the voiceover was Richard Burton's voice. You may know him as Jeff Wayne, and I used the voiceover from the musical War of the Worlds, and soundtrack of was made by Moby. I wanted to show you this demo. It's a really short experiment with telling a story without having the viewer having to click stuff or in any way being reminded of the environment. I just want them to look around, have cues, experience the story, and enjoy themselves. And it's really interesting having to think about, like I said before, I want to show this, but the viewer might be looking that way. How can I guide the eye towards the part that I want to show? And how do I work in my timing cues and my action cues? How do I build my narrative? it's really interesting to think about these kinds of stuff. So next up is my very first experiment, which I did at art school. It's a panoramic shoebox peep show. It contains 11 worlds, sound, animation, and interaction. And each world contained part of my portfolio, so I built this in hopes of getting a job after art school, which I did. Unfortunately, the software is really, really outdated. It was cobbled together using Live Picture Reality Studio and VRML. And because it's so outdated, unfortunately, I can't show it as it was, but I can show you a short clip. And after the clip, I will be talking about some lessons I learned during this project. Where's my sound? Really? That sucks. Well, you need sound, that's kind of the point. Oh. It's on BMD HDMI.
That's what it's supposed to be.
The sound worked
Okay.
2 minutes ago.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Well, too bad. There was supposed to be a lovely soundtrack underneath these portfolio worlds, and the point I was trying to make is that an illustration is just an illustration until you put sound to it. And same basically goes for photos. Once you put sound to it, it starts to live. You get an atmosphere, you get a sense of space, and I just had a lovely howling wind in the desert soundtrack, which gives it a eerie feeling instead of just looking around the village. And this is the next one, I think.
Just see if your iTunes is playing, then you will know when the sound is coming out.
I have sound. Yeah. And this had a nice atmospheric, tingling sound, transporting you to darkness. Oh well, it's a live demo. So what I said just now, sound really is the fourth dimension, and really, really important. My animation teacher used to say that sound is 80% of the picture. So, and I think that the same applies to panorama storytelling. I hope I have sound now. That would be nice. And this would be nice too. Yes. So this is one of the little soundtracks you were supposed to be hearing just now. Oh, wasn't finished yet. Oh, I can't scroll. So this is a really simple panorama, really basic, very little detail, but sound makes it breathe, and I think portrays the sense of being in a large space, outside. And another part that was really important about my experience with my first panorama project is that animation really is the illusion of life. You can have like a tiniest slither of movement in a panorama, just a teeny tiny thing, and suddenly it's not a dead picture, suddenly it comes to life, and suddenly it's far more believable that you're in an actual space, a living space. And Test Escape as I told you before, I haven't been able to revive, so this is one of my more recent panoramas containing animation.